Welcome back to another episode of Health is Wealth. And thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. And as always, I am beyond grateful and thankful from the bottom of my heart to each and every one of you who is tuning into today's episode and tuning into this podcast, as every week I am dropping a new episode on Sundays, just sharing some words and thoughts and things that I'm learning on my own journey on this crazy ride that we call life. Things that I'm learning for the first time, things that I'm seeing again in a different point of view, in hopes that it sparks some inspiration and motivation and brings some value into your life. Hopefully to learn something new. Maybe you see something in a different point of view yourself. And if anything, just get a chance to know who I am and what mission I am on in my life. And what I wanted to talk to you about in this week's episode is we've got about 6 months left until the end of this year. And, maybe just as a reminder, right, that life moves fast, and we do know this. And if we don't stop and really just kind of reflect on where we are at, what's going on our life, what is our goal, by the time we turn back around, it just seems like so much time has gone by, and it's important for us to stop every once in a while and just see, okay, where am I at right now in life? Where am I going? Have I set some goals? Am I getting closer to those goals? And just kind of see where we're at to make sure that we are on the path that we want to be on. And as I think about this, in my own life right now, it's just crazy to think how fast this year has blown by. I mean, we're already in July, and it feels like just yesterday that we rung in the new year, which again shows you just how quickly time moves. And so here we are about 6 months away until we are into the next year. And so, for me, it's time to really reflect on, okay, we're about halfway through the year. I had set certain goals for this year. Where are we now? Sort of like checking in, right? And really asking myself, am I where I thought I would be at right now this far into the year? Am I getting closer to my goal? Am I staying kind of stagnant, or am I pushing further away from my goal? And if I can be candid and honest with you, I do have some things that I believe, are causing some distractions from where I thought I would want to be or where I was heading. But this is why I wanted to bring this up, right? To maybe help you, because again, time moves so quick, and sometimes we're just going. We forget to stop and just see how far we are and just make sure that we are headed where we want to head at. So this is just kind of the half of the year check-in for both you and I to be like, hey, we got another half year left until we bring in the new year. What are we going to do with it? Are we setting goals? Have we set goals? Are we getting closer to the goals? Do we need to revisit those goals and see if they still align with what we want in life? We got to look at these goals too and be like, are we close to where we want to be at? Are we getting closer? Or have we kind of taken, a detour and got off track a bit? A lot of what I want to spend doing right now for myself is really revisiting where I'm at in my life. I'm going to spend some time with a journal and just ask myself, okay, this is where we are at in the year. What goals did I set for this year that I've already achieved or haven't achieved? What goals do I still have pending for this year? And am I getting any closer to them, or am I getting distracted with things that are taking me further away? It's so important because, there's still plenty of time, with there being half a year left to do plenty of the goals that we sought out for this year. But that's if we take a minute to stop and recognize that, hey, we are halfway through this year. In a blink of an eye, the next 6 months are going to go by, and then we're going to be in the new year. And if we don't stop and just take a, check-in of our situation and where we are at, we might look up, at the end of the year, realize the whole year was gone, and then see maybe we didn't do anything close to what we thought we wanted to do or be, or, hit any of the goals that we wanted. For me, I have a lot of these goals to try to, again, still continue to improve on my health and my body composition. And, a big goal was trying to step forward towards a 5-year plan that I have to bring me out of what I do for a day job right now in the construction field, to really do what I'm passionate about doing, inspiring and motivating and fitness and a lot of these different other things that I find true joy in, and wanting to make that as, where I want to be 5 years from now, leaving this to pursue that, to, improve my life, to help motivate and push others to improve their life as well. And so if we're not intentional with our everyday actions and decisions and things that we are doing, again, this is what happens. Sometimes we just look up, things are going so quickly in life, and then all of a sudden 6 months are gone, and you're just like, oh crap, like that happened quick, right? And so for me, I've got to visit, like, where am I at right now in pertaining to those goals, and what things do I need to change? What things do I need to take out? What things do I need to bring in to get me closer to the big goals, right? Because that's why we have goals, is they matter to us. There's a reason why they're important, but goals are only as good as the work that you put into them. If you just have goals and then just go off and do your thing, then what does it matter anyways, if you're not using every day as a way to, step closer to those goals, making the right decisions, keeping things in your life that are going to serve that goal, reminding yourself of these goals, etc., etc. So again, this video is more of a check-in for all of us to be like, hey, we've got 6 months left until the end of this year. How are we going to spend it? It's still plenty of time, but if you don't pay attention to what's going on, it's going to come, tomorrow, and you don't want to look back at this year and be like, crud, I had all these big things I was working towards and wanted to do, and I just got distracted with a bunch of things. I got so busy and caught up with just, moving, that I forgot to see, where am I moving to? What path am I on? What am I doing? So for the next 6 months for me, it's really trying to prioritize my time and distractions, right? Because in order for me to get closer to that big goal, it's going to take me making some big decisions, some hard decisions, right? It's going to take me writing down what things in my life do I have to eliminate if I want to get to that bigger goal that's going to serve me, outside of just, the physical, stuff of me wanting to work on my health. Again, I've got a plan of 5 years from now to want to be in a financial position to where I'm a lot better off than what I am at right now. I'll be honest to say I've got some unnecessary debts in my life that I'm going to spend the next 6 months also trying to clean up. I've also been on that the last few months, where I've wanted to really get financially better with, budgeting and not spending so much, and saving, and trying to find opportunities to invest in myself, to further myself towards the bigger goal. I've been doing my best to try to write down my financial stuff. How much debt do I owe? How much money am I making? What things am I spending money on? Because just like anything, if you're able to start tracking stuff, you've got a better view and layout of what's actually happening. And, the most about that, though, is we've got to be consistent too, because if we're not, then it's as good as nothing either. So where are you at right now in this, half of year that we are at officially, right? And what are you going to do in the next 6 months to get you closer, and continue getting to the bigger goals that you have set? Maybe you're just like me, where you're kind of like, oh, crud, half the years has gone by, and it's like, where did that time go? Maybe you got a little distracted. I'll be honest to say I've had a couple of small distractions going on, but being able to recognize that right now and still having the next 6 months for me in the next part of this year is going to give me a good chance to rebalance myself, realign myself to where I want to be and where I want to go. And I'm starting that as of right now. Just going to be taking some things off my plate, doing away with things, kind of lightening the load of just stuff that I've got in my life to help me just stay more focused and honed on with the bigger things that matter to me. So again, there's plenty of time for the next 6 months, but this is really just to bring some awareness to you that this is where we are at. We are halfway through the year, and it is super important. If you've got some big big goals that you're trying to pursue, and chase, right? That we've got to all lock in right now so that we can go into the new year strong and just remind ourselves just how fast this year is going on. And so hopefully it brings that awareness to you to do a check-in in your own life, to be like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what's happened. This is how I want the next 6 months to be. Because when we don't recognize that, don't see that, not aware of that, that's what happens when all of a sudden life just speeds by and you look up, you're like, oh, I knew I was going, but this is not the path that I wanted to go down. I thought it was somewhere else. And that's the big goal about being intentional, is making sure we are on the right path, going in the right direction to where we want to be. Because we don't control life. Life controls us, right? If we're not steering the boat down the river, the boat's just going to keep going and it's going to end up wherever it's going to end up, But we want to make sure we can do the best that we can to steer the boat in the direction of where we want to. When we get there, be like, okay, cool, this is what I had planned. This is where we were trying to get to. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. And as always, I will see you on the next one.